Here's a few of my thoughts on Prince Harry. Modestly hailing himself a dragon-slaying hero, puffed-up Prince Harry wallowed in what he called his victory over his nemesis, the British press, taking on the unlikely role of the plucky little David who courageously stood up to the mighty media Goliath. The privileged multimillionaire from Montecito described the outcome of his privacy action against the Daily Mirror newspapers as, and I quote, vindicating and affirming. Strange, considering the court upheld less than half of his claims that published articles were based on phone hacking or illegal activity. Of the 33 stories the Duke of Sussex insisted must have been obtained nefariously, the court decided that 18 were perfectly legitimate. Only 15 of his allegations were found to be justified. Nevertheless, conveniently glossing over the fact that his victory was, to say the least, merely partial, the famously litigious royal gushed, "Today is a great day for truth as well as accountability. I have been told that slaying dragons will get you burned, but in the light of today's victory and the importance of doing what is needed for a free and honest press, it is a worthwhile price to pay." So said Harry, the proud president of his own fan club, who was seeking £440,000 damages, but was awarded a fraction of that, just £140,600. A win of sorts, and certainly not a marvellous moment for Fleet Street. But as he fights similar legal battles with other British newspaper companies, exactly why is the Prince waging war on the press? A war he cannot possibly win. I hate to use this word, but what's Harry's endgame? He talked to ITN's Tom Bradby about his, and I quote, life's work. He cited his, and again I quote, mission of changing the media landscape within the UK. Sorry, Harry, but for a no longer frontline royal living on the other side of the world in sunny California, that's mission impossible. And frankly, who the hell do you think you are? The British press is far from perfect. In their pursuit of scoops, journalists do sometimes cross the line. But the independent press does not take orders from anyone. Not the government, not the Prime Minister, not the King, and certainly not his faraway youngest son. Harry and Meghan's ticker-tape blizzard of lawsuits will always be dealt with respectfully by the newspapers they despise. But will the gruesome twosome from Montecito make them change? Of course they won't. Will editors quiver in terror and conclude they had better comply with Harry's wishes for a tamer, more regulated media? Of course they won't. Responding to Harry's statement that accused him of knowingly presiding over a culture of phone hacking, former Daily Mirror editor and current talkTV presenter Piers Morgan furiously hit back. Prince Harry's outrage at media intrusion into the private lives of the royal family is only matched by his own ruthless, greedy and hypocritical enthusiasm for doing it himself. As for him saying this is a good day for the truth, the Duke has repeatedly been exposed as someone who would not know the truth if it slapped him around his California tanned face. Ouch! If the Duke of Netflix is looking for forelock-touching deference, he ain't gonna get it. Zealous litigants like Harry come and go, but it's crucial that this great nation's free British press must last forever. I'm going to come to you first, Andrew, because you're a barrister. He's well within his rights to launch all these legal actions against newspapers. He hates the free press. He hates the British press. But as I say, this is a war on the media. He cannot win it. So what is he up to?
Well, it is interesting. And I was actually part of the court. I was in the court for some of Harry's testimony. I saw that. I think we have to put it into perspective. Is that Harry's hated the press for a reason. He still blames the press, in part, for the death of his mother, the paparazzi chasing and so on and so forth.
Well, unjustified.
I understand, but this is putting it into perspective.
His mother was killed by a drunken French
And
chauffeur.
you're looking at that sort of side. But they were being pursued by paparazzi, he would say. He also blames the press because of Meghan, the reason they have to leave and so on and so forth. The reality is this, is the press that he's complaining about has already changed.
Yes.
And the days of before the Leveson inquiry and so on and so forth, that's what we need to to look at. So you're right, we need a free press. We need a press that can criticise people and have a thick skin and respond appropriately. But the abhorrent tactics that used to be employed are no longer there. They've looked at that, they've been exposed, and people have moved on.
Those headlines will haunt that person for the rest of their life.
P.T. Barnum.
And the difference is a journalist will go on to the next story. Right?
But
so
it
remember,
depends
these
whether
people
they
are
often
human
deserve
beings,
it, Precious.
but they're human beings before anything.
Yeah, but they are often
and we have
the
to realise those headlines come up for the rest of their life.
So we don't do stories because people get upset by them?
No, but we have to make sure that we're doing it the ethical way. I agree with getting the headlines. I know journalists who write those kind of stories, and they tell me that they research it properly.
And the reality,
that's all we're asking.
The reality is this press
don't go down to the, wherever they're getting this kind of stuff in the wrong places, and then this is what happens.
You're
what is the
right,
point?
What
is the point of trying to punish a press for something that they have moved on from? Why is he doing this?
Well, because we could say that about
Andrew is exactly right. The press, I mean, to say they've learned their lesson is not. What's happened is they kind of some of them got found out, and they realised. I mean, some of them went to prison for God's sake.
They did.
So they found out that these shall we nefarious methods they were using are no good. So they don't do them anymore.
No.
So why is Harry just droning on and on and on about a problem that has been solved?
And the reality is,
at the end of the day, he's been awarded the damages for a reason. So there must have been the unethical reasons behind it as to why they've done this and gone through the court system. So it takes time. It's like a murderer. We don't just instantly get the justification for that person.
You're quite right, Precious. And what's happened...
It takes time. So it's like...
But just to put it in perspective, the media have already paid tens of millions for the damages for the wrongdoing.
100%.
So what we're talking about is...
And it's ongoing.
We're on the same page.
And it's ongoing.
Yes.
And the point is this, P.T. Barnum, the great showman, said, if you want to draw a crowd, start a fight. And the days that they used to do that, you get the headlines if there's a bit of scandal and so on and so forth. We still need a press that can expose that scandal, but do it in a legal and legitimate way.
Well, I'm just going to, as a final word, it's my show, and I'm going to have the final word on this. I think he is a preposterous, pompous little pipsqueak, and it is not his life's work to tame the media, and he expects us to touch our forelocks to him, and he can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. The Free British Press is one of the glories of this country, and he should stick his nose out of this. So there you go, my show, my final word. We're going to have a bad ad now.
It's the Christmas edition of Radio Times, and it's packed full with the stars of Christmas on BBC radio and television, including Les Dawson.
Now tell me, flexibility of the legs. How's that? All right, this one. How's that now?
In the breaks in the festivities, try a Radio Times Christmas competition. Then how about a Christmas drama? Do you fancy Bergerac?
I'm afraid, sir, she has been identified as a jewel thief.
A jewel thief?
An extremely clever one.
What about a feature film? There are nearly 90 to choose from, including Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Water! 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 Water!
Find it all in the Christmas and New Year double issue of Radio Times, out now.
Hurrah!
Wow. I mean, there's nothing to criticise that about, but I suppose it's very nostalgic.
I love it.
Christmas TV used to be fantastic. That was in the days when millions and millions of people watched the television.
Right.
I mean, Christmas Day for me when I was growing up was, right, let's get the festivities started, click, and then we watched it all day. I don't even turn it on anymore.
What I love as well, Kev, is that now, they used to be the days when everybody would watch the TV together.
That's what I'm saying.
The family would do
family,
that. Now what happens is...
all that.
We have audience of zillions. Now what happens is everybody's buried in their own screens, cocooned in their own little world, and we've lost society, we've lost families as a result of it.
Well, the problem
I bet
is
you don't even know who Les Dawson is.
I've never seen any of those ads ever before.
Well, no, but that Les Dawson, the one with the leg rolling.
Fantastic.
He was an amazing comedian.
Loved it.
He was funny, Les.
Well, I mean, I think that what is happening is that everyone's streaming stuff, so they watch it whenever they're ready to watch it. Nobody's watching live television anymore. Nobody's sitting at home at 6 o'clock going to the television to make sure we check into that show.
I mean, but I would
things have changed.
I would also say that in those days, television was good.
How about a nice pair of earrings?
I think it's gone to my head.
How's about nothing?
It's a cracker.
I know it's bigger and better, but this is ridiculous.
It's definitely everybody's Christmas #1.
It's the only way you can find what everyone's up to.
It's unbeatable. It's so big and so much fun, I cannot keep my hands off it.
It's actually bursting with fun and laughter. Hours of fun for all the family.
Well, that was in the days when the BBC was covering up for Jimmy Savile big time, right?
Ooh, that was,
I mean,
Those
that
are the
was a
days when
shock
people
to
used to
see
get a
him in that
hernia.
video, to be honest.
They were also the days that people used to get a hernia lifting up their phone. Did you see the size of that thing? It was
My dad used
enormous.
to
It was
have a phone in a bag.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, he had a suitcase phone, and also he had a
fantastic.
car phone as well. So
That was like the early episode of Only Fools and Horses where Rodney would go along, I think, was it? And Del Boy would go along to the car to make the phone call. Do you remember that one?
Remember Tommy Cooper? That was one of his sketches.
Yeah.
He'd be holding this huge phone about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm calling up about my phone bill. yeah. Why is it so big? Anyway.
But I don't think we have the budget for those kind of commercials anymore. Those
That's
were
true.
a lot of stars in one commercial.
Although that's the BBC. The BBC has the budget.
That's a big budget commercial.
Because it's still nicking our money. 173,000. Oh, no, not that much. It's £173.
They're raising it now, aren't
I'm having
they?
trouble with numbers today.
Yeah.
£173.30 your TV license is going to be soon. And that will not last for long, folks, because it's an anachronism. The BBC won't be getting the license fee for long. It's certainly not going to get millions of people paying for much longer. What just happened?
He's mad as hell. It's Kevin O'Sullivan.
Welcome back. Here's a few of my thoughts. Well, you'll get the idea. To paraphrase the late, great John Lennon, so this is Christmas, another year over, and a new one just about to begin. Yep, as turbulent 2023 grinds to a festive halt, what can we look forward to in 2024? What will happen over the next 12 months? Who knows? But what would I like to happen? Well, that's quite a different question. So here it is, my month-by-month fantasy wish list of events that I'd love to take us all by storm. January. Saintly £1.3 million a year soccer guy, Gary Lineker, treats the nation to another of his dreary virtue-signalling tweets about evil Tories, and the BBC finally shows him the red card. 1 week after the Match of the Day host is sacked, he joins Sky Sports for £2 million a year. February. After more migrants drown in the Channel, gormless globalist Rishi Sunak at last decides that saving lives is more important than the cloistered niceties of international law, quits the European Convention on Human Rights and orders the small boats crossing the channels to be intercepted and taken back to France. After the first turnaround, the boats stop coming, migrant crisis over. March, Prince Harry and Meghan return to Britain, say sorry for their appalling behaviour and promise never to attack the royal family again. King Charles refuses to accept their apology and strips them of their royal titles. April. A major corporation is slammed by howling protesters who complain that the red, black and green carpet in its reception area is disrespectful to Palestine. The corporation responds by dismissing the protesters as a bunch of middle-class idiots, tells them to get a life and declares the carpet stays. May. Fulham win the Premier League, securing the triumph with a 6-0 victory over struggling Chelsea, dooming the Blues to relegation. June. New Health Secretary Lord Nigel Farage fires 3,400 NHS middle managers on six-figure salaries, axes hundreds of pointless diversity officers, saves billions cutting ridiculous red tape, and instantly our suddenly amazing NHS becomes an efficient powerhouse, and those notorious 8 million strong waiting lists plummet to nothing. July. The government announces that for the sake of productivity and to prevent Britain from becoming a nation of Netflix nerds, working from home is banned. August. ITV gives up its search for the new Phil and Holly and axes toxic daytime dirge this morning due to lack of interest. September. The BBC licence fee ceases to exist after new Culture Secretary Lord Reza Ruddock tells the state broadcaster to make its own money. A slew of Auntie Beeb's woke programmes with pathetically tiny audiences, EastEnders for example, are immediately cancelled. October. Following a Premier League match lasting more than 3 hours, the FA pulls the plug on VAR and returns to the human error refereeing system. December. Stunned by the Tories' shock general election triumph, Keir Starmer retires from politics and launches his own hair product company. Well, those are my wish list fantasy predictions for 2024. Well, let me ask you first, what did you think of them?
I thought, yeah, absolutely brilliant. I think you're probably spot on, Kev. And what I also like is, as you rightly point out, next year we're going to have lots of elections, not just in the US, but probably in the UK as well as different places around the world. And it's going to be the first time in history that AI is going to play a significant part. So you're going to get all these fake ads, you're going to get all these sort of wonderful ads and so on and so forth. We had Pope and a Puffer beforehand. You had Keir Starmer effing and blinding, worse than the education
But didn't you
secretary.
say he's going to open a hair company?
Yeah, isn't that good?
Well, you know, he's got
Well,
that,
I mean, I have a hair
product.
company
do
as
you?
well, so we'll definitely talk. I think that
Definitely
we'll have a bit of a chat about
Starmer
that.
and Muir, hair
that's
products
good.
for the royalty.
Right.
S&M, you'll get the wrong people approaching you. It should be good.
By the way, did you know that now you noticed that, by the way, I do think in November Donald Trump will win the
I predicted that a long time ago. I agree.
He's
Do
gonna,
you think- do
yeah,
you
well, he'll
really
be the
think?
Republican candidate.
Wow.
The Democrats are desperately trying to dissuade
But I don't think he will ever be.
99-year-old.
I don't think he will ever be president again.
he will.
No.
He'll win.
Absolutely.
He'll
No,
Never.
I predicted this about 5 years ago when everybody was
I
dissing.
know
Are
America.
you
I lived there for
really?
10 years.
Me too.
I know
don't-
America.
Me-
They are-
yeah.
he-
Well, it's
he
not
will
all
win.
Miami and New York, is it? Obviously, it's the Midwest that's
Everybody.
voting.
And he is so
It's the Midwest
touching
that's
the
voting
right
for
sort
him.
of buttons for,
Yeah.
for
But
the
did you
people
know?
who's
So
working on
if
the
you know,
basis.
then the Keir Starmer prediction I did. For
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you know that due to an agreement between 5 nations, we are not allowed to have our general election in November? Because our general elections are not allowed to ever coincide with presidential elections
Exactly.
in America.
Yeah.
It's rather like
It's an
channels
agreement.
and
Well,
things like that.
because obviously Fox and everyone's covering at the same time,
Yeah.
BBC, Sky, and all of that. They need to make sure there's no conflict.
So it will either be
yeah.
it will either be in March or in October
Yeah.
when they've got the good bit of news and they need to get some movement on those 5 pledges and then they're going to call it.
I think October. It will be,
October, money's on October.
Because Rishi won't want to fuck Christmas up for everyone. Which
No.
that's in December. So technically, he could go to January the 17th.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's the latest.
2025. But I don't think it'll go that long. But he will cling on for dear life as long as
Yes.
Do you
he
think?
can.
Yeah.
So what about you two? Precious first, ladies first.
Yes.
Are you allowed to call people ladies anymore?
Well, I am one, so yeah.
Thank
go
you
ahead.
very much, Precious. You can come again.
Yeah.
Now, what would you like to see happen in 2024?
In all honesty, I would love to see peace in the Middle East. I really want for
I like
Israel
that. I
to
like that.
kind of, come to a conclusion or resolution to end the war, because I think it's time. It's time.
Yeah, it's. I mean,
Okay.
I'm all for Israel defending itself. So yeah, I mean,
I just think that the Palestinians and the Jewish community need to come together.
I wish they could.
I wish
really-
that they
yeah,
could be able
yeah.
to coexist. They have been doing so in the UK and the US for years before the war. We were able to coexist, not saying they're best friends, but they were able to be civilized with each other. And since the war, it's become an absolute chaos.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I think there was a
situation.
lot of attrition between,
There was animosity
the
there.
Gaza Palestinians.
There was
and the
animosity
Israelis.
before,
But I'll tell you
it
what
was-
does worry me.
it was
though,
easy to coexist.
Is that attrition seems to have, crossed borders and arrived here.
Yeah.
Now, these pro-Palestinian marches, I've been to about 3 of them, just as an observer, journalist sort of thing.
Goodness
Just
me.
well, I won't
Brave.
doubt.
You're
I was
brave.
no, I
Yeah.
was just interested.
Very brave.
Actually, they're quite good-natured. There's
Yeah.
nothing worrying or threatening about them.
Okay.
But they're Jew-hate marches, and I think I think they should be allowed. But I think the police should do something about the rampant anti-Semitism that unfolds within these protests, Andrew.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And there's so much poison. And the trouble is, the poison in social media has spilled out onto
it's a lot of
the
hate.
streets.
There's
And
a
what's
lot of
interesting, that one thing for Joe Biden, if he is going to run again, Joe Biden
Can he
is
manage?
basically...
Can he even make it to the podium?
But
Like, at this
the
point?
great thing is, what he should do is that it's an anagram. Joe Biden is be joined.
Be joined.
Be joined. We work on that sort of basis. So you can look at this world where we've got a diseased information world, where people are basically drowning in a sea of information, most of which is false.
Andrew,
the
before
stuff
we
on
move
X
on,
is-
I've got to get Andrew. What would you like to see happen?
Well, I would like to
Just
see
quickly.
people questioning everything. I would like people not to have a more open mind about stuff rather than just basically having pandering to their own personal prejudices. Because what happens at the moment, we surround ourselves in a sort of vacuum, if you like,
That sounds like a
about
woke
that sort of stuff.
world.
It's not woke.
Sounds like a
does sound a bit
woke
woke.
world.
Question
That sounds
everything.
a bit
Thank you. There you go.
We have got another bad ad.
Eric Bristow Darkane. Here, fancy meeting you. Video and TV units, self-assembly too. Remington's great popcorn maker. Steady on there, lad. A colour set, remote control. Here. That can't be bad. Big value quality sweet in a jar. Hurrah! Hurrah! Home computer. Here's the Commodore. A gift set pack from Brute. What man could ask for more? 1,000 lovely things to choose from. Bargains galore. And the latest, greatest, ever more spectacular. Woolworth Christmas show.
Nostalgia for Woolworths there.
Yeah.
You will not know who's singing there. Do you know?
Who was that singer?
Joe Brown.
It was Joe Brown.
Joe
Of course
Brown.
he was.
He's a famous
He's up
old
Mother
pop
Brown.
singer.
Oh, I love it.
Well, I loved Woolworths.
Brilliant.
I knew what Woolworths were. I love going to
and
Woolworths.
next generation won't. Isn't that sad?
Yeah, it's very true.
No,
Nobody, they won't
Woolworths.
know the pick and mix.
Bring back
Oh,
Woolworths.
that
Pick
was
and
great.
mix.
Pick and mix, spread your own
I
joy.
love the pick and mix.
When we were
I used to
kids,
love that.
let's go to Woolworths and pick
Get
and
your
mix.
pick
It
and
was
mix.
all like...
Mum and Dad would take me just before the cinema.
yeah.
We would go just to get.
wasn't that good?
That's right.
That's where
And of
we
course,
would
the
go.
cinemas do pick and mix themselves now.
Yeah,
don't
now
they?
they do.
They wouldn't
yeah.
have to if Woolworths is
No,
But there you
and
go.
we do miss
Let me
Woolworths.
tell you,
Yeah,
for
I
this
do.
great nation, culturally, the death of Woolworths was the beginning of the end.
It was. I agree
it's
with
true.
you.
Every high street.
And-
Every high street.
The high street
Every
started
high
becoming
street.
dead after that, yeah.
R.I.P. Woolworths. This has been our Christmas special. A big thank you to
Thank you,
Andrew Ebon, and a big thank you to Precious Mira. It's been great fun. I want to wish you all a very happy Christmas. We'll be back at some time after Christmas, probably in the new year. I don't know when, but we will be back. It's been a great year. Thank you for joining us every single week for What Just Happened. And stay cool. What just happened?